I really like the new FlightCheck app that is just released, I think, more easier way than I can do it with Adobe Preflight software. So for me, the good thing about Markzware is it's just easy to handle for everybody, and that's the beautiful thing about the software. I mean, the conversion is really easy. So I don't.
Hi, everybody. David Dilling from Markzware. Today we have a very special guest, a longtime customer of Markzware's, Matteo, and he's working at Galledia Group, which is a relatively big media and publishing company. But rather than let me tell you, we'll let Matteo, first of all, introduce himself. And so how did you get involved in graphic arts and prepress and all that?
Well, that began about 20 years ago from now. I just started an apprenticeship as a polygraph, as we say in Switzerland. It's a kind of graphic designer, but more on the technical way. I started in a small printing company in Zurich, and after the education, I just went on tour through different international agencies. And at the moment, since 6.5 years at Galledia, I still have some things to do with prepress, but more on the technical side, as you say, David. More on the support side of our prepress, on the support for our printing system with Heidelberg Prinect, and on the quality management of the printing process.
Excellent. So you're covering a lot. And
yeah.
Maybe where is Galledia? Where are you guys based?
We're based in Flawil. It's in the east part of Switzerland, in the Gallen. But we also have one production site at the Bar. It's in the central part of Switzerland, near Zug. That is a company which we had integrated in 2020. At the moment, we are 460 people on 12 sites, 2 production sites, with about 26 printing units. We have one of the most efficient sheet offset printing plant in Switzerland. All our central machines are duplicated on both production sites, so we can just give benefits on short production time and maximum production reliability. And we produce a lot of magazines, a lot of advertising materials, corporate communication like annual reports, books, employee magazine for national and international companies.
Wow. Yeah, that's really amazing. 460 employees. That's a big head count. So obviously,
for Switzerland, it's big.
Yeah, well, I think anywhere. So, and I love your logo. It's a cool, simple logo, but it looks. I like the way it looks. Excellent. So, I always like to start the interviews off with something like, okay, how did you first hear of Markzware? Like whenever or wherever that was. What was your first contact with Markzware, so to speak?
The first contact was in the previous agency which I worked. We had a lot of old data into our archive. It was like a big archive of Quark Express documents. And then there was a challenge to convert all that data to InDesign, because we were just since several years, we're working a lot with InDesign. We have a big production system that's called Woodwing. Which is just based on the InDesign technology. And so the challenge was just to convert all the old layouts into InDesign. That was the first contact with Markzware. And later on, just into the pre-flight theme, like with the old pre-flight application which Markzware had, FlightCheck. Yeah, the old FlightCheck, the old good one, FlightCheck.
Yeah.
And I was also beta tester for the new one, the actual version of FlightCheck. So
The current,
the current version, yeah.
Right. Yeah, totally rebuilt, and no more Flying Eagle, but
Yeah. And some on some clients data, we also use the PDF conversion, PDF to InDesign, which also helped to reconstruct several layouts that the client just had on PDF based and not with open data.
right.
So
Right.
that just saved a lot of hours to rebuild the InDesign out of PDF instead of just measuring all the font size and the colors and stuff like that. So it's a really great software for that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's like, that's PDFMarkz, we call that nowadays. That's our PDF to InDesign converter. All of our technology standalone, so you don't need to have any of the applications to use them. Same with the FlightCheck. So that just wanted to mention that. Okay, excellent. So you have a long history with using Markzware and knowing who we are, which is excellent. So how today are you using the Markzware products for Galledia?
We're using the Markzware products just on the single site use. So we have several clients which are using the software just on site if they get a job. For example, a Quark Express document to convert, or just a PDF to Preflight in a more easier way than I can do it with Adobe Preflight software. So for me, the good thing about Markzware is it's just easy to handle for everybody, and that's the beautiful thing about the software. I mean, for me, I'm just working 20 years now on the technical side of prepress. So for me, the Preflight with Adobe Acrobat Preflight isn't a big thing because I just knew a lot of PDF technology. But for our younger apprenticeships who are learning the job on site now, the Acrobat Preflight is quite heavy to learn with all these special wordings that it has with the bleep box and what's different between the transparency modes and stuff like that. And
it's very dry and
it's very dry. It's really on the high level, and on the lower level, on the more applicable level for a user, I think Markzware just supports us with that technology.
Right. Exactly. That a lot of people have said to us that FlightCheck is like their educational crutch. So they can use this, and they've learned, like you said, to the point where they can just look at a list and understand it. But FlightCheck helps educate you on what's in your document and why that's a problem, or why it's even in there, maybe, Yeah. So interesting. Very good. Just a note, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, I believe your company is using multiple copies, or at least different products of ours. QXPMarkz for Quark to InDesign, PDFMarkz for PDF to InDesign, and the FlightCheck standalone check and pre-flighting outside of any other application. So excellent. Okay. So maybe just stay on the FlightCheck for a second. So do they use it on all jobs or just tricky jobs?
Actual just on the trick jobs.
Right.
Yeah, because on all jobs we have our Heidelberg Pre-Next workflow, which is directly connected to the press sites and the other production process. So that's I think it's more on the tricky jobs and more on that jobs that are really urgent to have a result. That's also a good thing, because I mean, the same result as I get on FlightCheck within 5 minutes, I can also get you on Acrobat PDF Preflight, but at least it takes me half an hour, 1 hour to get all the information out of the reports of that. And with FlightCheck, I have within 5 minutes or less, have just a visual overview of what's inside the PDF. And I especially like how I can interact with the ground controls. So it's not like another software which has just presets that I can just use or not. But with FlightCheck, I just can create my own presets, which suits for my production workflow. We have offset printing, we have digital printing in-house. So I can use two different pre-flight sets on the same production set.
Absolutely, to get a second opinion almost, like a doctor. You want to, so that's very interesting. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Are you checking? Is it primarily PDFs? Or are you sometimes checking open source files like InDesign or?
Yeah, I also use for open source files because with our production system Woodwing, we need to have especially open type fonts. We need to know what about the colors, how many times some images are used on which side of the layout it is used, and so just to get first overview of big documents, of long documents, especially annual reports or stuff like that, we can easily analyze that open production files, and we can just look, okay, do we have the necessary fonts? Do we need to be aware of some other color issues that maybe could be? Right. And for me, the application of Preflight is the most interesting if it goes on the side of hot folder job controls. So we have one client that delivers about 29 InDesign documents that we have to check technically and then to upload into the production system. So I don't have to open one file after the other to check every InDesign file if the folder, if the font and if the color is just set up correct. I can just drag the 29 files into Preflight and see the whole overview of all files together. So that's one big thing.
Yeah,
which we like.
Yeah, excellent. And there's a lot of reporting and reports you can generate, both pre-flight and file inventory. So that's interesting because sometimes what a lot of printers you do with FlightCheck, every job that comes in, and this is obviously different than a 460 employee company with a workflow and all that, but a lot of printers will just drop whatever comes in on FlightCheck, make a report, and that's like legal document of what came in before they even touched it. And then they can go further with all their tricks and PDF editing or whatever it might be. So yeah, interesting. Okay, so just staying on FlightCheck for a moment, can you think of any, like you just had like a real life example where checking 29 files? Can you think of anything or remember any time when FlightCheck really like saved the day, where it stopped a major problem or something along those lines?
Well, I wouldn't say that it just saved our day or stopped a major problem, because all these files, which we just said, are going into a production system. And we also have some pre-flight processing inside the production system. So at least on the processing of the printing files by Made to Print combined with Heidelberg Prinect, the production job will stop at least then. But I mean, we have a lot of customers who are working with very old files. I mean, and I'm talking about files that are created within InDesign CS6 or earlier, and are just every time just saved and just copied and stuff like that. So we have a lot of files which comes with Type 1 fonts. I mean, it's very special that somebody is using Type 1 fonts in 2024.
Yeah.
But then we can just easily create a report and say, hey, our production systems are based on Windows Server. So we can't even work with type 1 fonts even if we want. So that's not possible. And so we can just show up, and I think that's one part that I missed before to say. I really like the score on the pre-flight. So I can really show, hey, that's green, that's orange, okay, that maybe it can go, but that's red, and that's just the red line. And so even if a client doesn't have a lot of know-how on technical production themes, I can just show them up very on the base information. Okay, that's the red line. It's not good, and he knows what we're talking about.
Right. Exactly. Excellent. Okay, very good. Yeah, like you said, you've been a long-time FlightCheck user, and you helped beta test this new version. But you're also using the two conversion products, QXPMarkz and PDFMarkz. You obviously knew about them from before you came to work where you work now, but how was the implementation, and is it just for, like you said, when someone comes in with a Quark file or a PDF that they want to totally redo, you'll use one of our conversion products to handle it?
I think that's the most times of the use of these products, that a client just is calling us, hey, I have a big archive with 200 Quark Express files, and he just wants to publish them on the web for e-paper or some other digital publication. And instead of rebuilding all the articles, that isn't possible because of the time and the money, you can easily convert. And I mean, I have tried really a lot of different conversion software, from PDF to InDesign or to Quark Express, and just the Markzware products are one of the best products that I found on the market. So we're really happy that we can use this product for this conversion.
Right. Similar to the FlightCheck, you get a preview and then of the document, and then you can just, with basically one or two clicks, you get the converted file from Quark to InDesign or PDF to InDesign or other options as well, of course, So
and I mean, the conversion is really easy. So I don't have to use any scripting process or any. It's just a visual interface. I can drag and drop the files in, so I can give it to anybody in the company which is working on prepress. He can just put the files in. He get a result within minutes, and he can work with these converters.
So I always ask, at getting towards the end of the interview here, would you recommend FlightCheck and or our conversion tools to other people who are looking into them?
Yeah, of course. At least I would recommend them to try the products, to have a look, and after the trial, he can just decide if he want to work with these products or not.
Yeah, but like you said, they work. So
they work. They work, of course.
Yeah. And FlightCheck, the conversion tools, you don't have a demo, so to speak, but we can do a sample conversion.
Yes.
But as you just heard from Matteo, it pretty much works. Native files are more perfect. PDF is a little more touching up, but they work.
Yeah, but with the Markzware conversion by the cloud-based service that you offer,
the new pre-release,
pre-release, I mean, that's the best thing for small clients who are just thinking about of buying the software or not. I mean, for a few dollars, they can just have a conversion, which is, I think, or as I tested, it's on the same technical level that the local products which I buy are. So I can just give a few tests that cost me not that much money, and then I have the result.
Right. Very good point. I just had a guy today, a 35-page PDF. Yeah, I just want to see this. They said, well, I can only do 3-page test for you, but here's what I'll offer. If you do the file conversion, it'll be for that file, it was like $39. But if you like, because he had many more PDFs, I said, if you like it, then I'll refund that. You buy PDFMarkz, and then everyone's happy. So you get a discount. And so that's another way. Good point, Matteo. Yeah. Excellent. So you'd recommend Markzware products. That's always nice to hear. Do you have anything else to add before anything else you want to share with us, or insights?
Yeah, I mean, I really like the new FlightCheck app that is just released, I think, 2 years ago now. For the only thing that's for us would be very nice, but I think you know it, David, that we were just really waiting on the release of the Windows-based application for FlightCheck.
Right.
That's because I mean to use it on one single computer. That's okay. Our prepress is working with Windows, so we don't have at least that much Apple computers on our production side as we had for about 2 years ago, as we changed from Apple to Windows systems within the company of the prepress. But we have a lot of automated processes. Like we're automating a lot with Focus Switch.
Sure.
In Focus Switch server is also a Windows-based server.
Yeah. So you're very Windows oriented. Yeah. Well, I have some good news. Maybe what we're doing is it's going to take some time here still to get fully like a full FlightCheck as you're used to it on the desktop. What in the portal, the Markz portal. Markzware.com. So on Markz portal, we've now added. It's all in pre-release, so we don't really make announcements about it. You just have to look around. So we added in there pre-flight report.
Yeah,
and that's based on the default set of ground controls as they are when you download FlightCheck the first time. So you can't adjust them just yet, but at least you can get a full pre-flight report or inventory report on your file totally for free in Markz portal. So right now, that's where we're heading. So that will be platform independent. It won't matter if it's Windows or Mac, and you can just drop your file and get these reports. So that'll hopefully help you down the line. It's not quite ready, like I said, for fully adjusting the ground controls or pre-flight profiles, but that's where it's heading. So it'll be an online experience, and then a lot easier for you to use.
Yeah, but that's within the normal service of the SaaS solution.
Yeah.
So I pay for every PDF, every document that I just
something like that. Yeah, there's different options, but right. Well, we also do have the APIs. So that's the beauty. Back, like you said, 2 years ago, we did FlightCheck, but actually before that or during that time, we redid all of our engines to make all of our software completely standalone without any third-party libraries. So now the APIs are available for file conversion and coming soon for pre-flighting. So that'll be another option. Yeah.
Okay.
So you just build it right into your workflow, and
And I'm not that sure about, was the old FlightCheck application with the Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
Was that just only on Macintosh computers, or was there also a Windows-based version?
It was also on Windows, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's the thing. Yeah, because I mean, as I speak with other colleagues within big companies, especially printing companies, a lot of them are switching or just switched from Macintosh to Windows.
Yeah.
One part about IND Design use on Macintosh with the new Apple Silicon processors within running old version isn't that easy on a new Mac.
No.
And also, I mean, we have 64 employees inside our prepress section, so it's a lot more easier to maintain the the Windows laptops than
Yeah, it's
and they can do on the Macintosh computer. So
yeah.
that's the reason why we changed them out 1 year ago to Windows laptops. And so for me, that would be really great if in some time there will be a native application, FlightCheck on the Windows.
Excellent.
Because I'm just thinking further to install the FlightCheck application on InFocus server, and then to automate especially the JSON and the XML reports within InFocus Switch. So you drop in the file outside Switch. Switch is transferring to FlightCheck. FlightCheck is running by hot folder, the pre-flight process, and then you get a final report by XML or by JSON or HTML with the FlightCheck report, with the packaging report, everything you need, and then you can go on with InFocus Switch to process that file. That would be very great for us to use in an automated workflow.
This is exactly where we're heading.
Okay.
Because we just with the APIs and we can totally build. Matter of fact, it was February this year at 4Ps for their big launch of their workflows, which integrate Switch. So with our APIs, we can build them into any of these solutions. So you won't even need to have a FlightCheck actually working. It'll just be built in via the APIs. You won't even see it. So in Switch, you might have a little, I don't know what they call them anymore, but like a little applet or a little connector that would do the process. But so that's something we can talk about later, because that's all pretty much possible. Right now, we get in the API the file inventory, so everything used in the file, and a standard pre-flight report without any customization. But with the file inventory, you can then do your own checks or sort based, on information that you see in that file inventory. Fonts are used, what type of fonts, type 1, true type, images, everything's there. So, So we have something to talk about, down the line, maybe.
Okay. I think so.
But it was really, thank you. It was really great talking to you, Matteo, and I really appreciate your time. And we really appreciate you as a long-term customer and for all the feedback you give us. And hopefully this will help other people with, looking at the Markzware products and understanding that they pretty much do what they say on the box. They work. So
yeah, that's true. It really works. Thank you, David.
Thank you, Matteo, and you have a great day. Where can people learn more information about Galledia Group?
It's just on www.galledia.ch.
Okay, I'll put a link down in the description.
I think it's easy.
Excellent. Well, you have a great day. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, take care.